No, I can't. I can't let it end here. How's it going, YouTube? Durian here, and it's time to talk about humans in Jill. Of course, we're using antibody activation in this deck. Let's just boom, there it is. Whoop, there it is. So antibody activation is if your explorer count is 3 or higher. Of course, you're giving an ally +1, +3, and shield. So it's huge, insane value, but you do have to get there. So it is a little bit tricky to get everything kind of meshed well. Also with a little bit of the humans engine going in here. So we opted to basically play no spells. Part of this list is inspired by Izzy, which I believe is at Deadly Cuddles on Twitter. I cannot remember off the top of my head right now, but I appreciate kind of seeing his list and similar lists on the Discord, which you guys should join if you're not in the Discord. Link should be in the description, okay? And so seeing all their kind of ideas going on there really helped me kind of redefine this list. So we'll talk a little bit about it, but try to keep things pretty quick. But while we're doing that, there's the QR code, so you can copy it down while you hear me blabber. So the key things to this deck is there's a lot of high value and like very, how do I say, like must answer cards. So we're looking at kind of the must answer cards are BB Hood, because agility, and when you play basically anything in this deck, it's gonna get +1, +0, well, +1 attack, and the agility makes it really hard. The Nash becoming a 3/9 with combo once you hit the explore count is fantastic. So these two cards are kind of the bread and butter of like, we're gonna close the game out pretty quick, and you gotta deal with us. So the other part of the deck is there are 10 explore cards. So we've got Michael Victor, who explores for ammo, which is +2 attack, which is pretty good, but he's kind of a 1/5, and the ability, the explore card is not the best, so he's a little awkward, but he's human, so we live with it. Then we've got Hellbat, who gets detonation, which is probably the best explore card. 6 damage for 2 MP, fantastic. So you just get that value there. Charlie is another human with explore. Combo is pretty good, but the Death Explorer is a little tricky, so it's why we're only playing one of him. And then of course we've got Carlos, who is the, I would say, second best explore card in my opinion, especially in the deck, because he's got 3/5, which is pretty good stats, and you get a shield out of him, which can give you a lot of value, and a lot of people aren't expecting shields to come out of red, so that definitely gives you a little bit of surprise value if they forget, or if they're like, it's more like forget value, huh? Forget value. So that's kind of our explore package. And then that turns on once you hit your 3. You get antibody activation, you get Nashes, you also get Claire Redfield, who does 6 damage in front, so she's just a total beast. So yeah, so Claire's a total beast, and so Claire and Nash is kind of why you're playing the explore package. And then there just happens to be a lot of humans within that, so that's where you're getting extra value off BB Hood and off the Determined Hunter Lady and Josh Stone, who's, I wish he was a 2/5, but 2/4, you get used to it, you live with it, and you can also buff him up with antibody if you need it. And he does 2 damage, so it's a nice little extra little bit of damage for low cost. You've got Rescuer's Bullet, which is useful for saving your cards. Like you can dodge brainwashes, you can reuse some effects, which is very nice. So that's mainly what it's used for. You just kind of hold it. If you really are desperate, you can use it to reuse a explore. So that's something there. And then Fate Defying Ryu is kind of another finisher. The 6 MP makes it harder to get removed because of these 4 MP threats. You know, you've got Fate of the Unworthy, you've got Demonic Intimidation, that bounce things around, so Fate Defying Ryu can definitely be unstoppable in the late game. Although because we don't focus too much on the actions, it is a little hard to build him up, if I'm being honest. So that's basically the deck. You've got your kind of your cards that explore, which take up a third of the deck. You've got your powerhouses, so I would say Claire, Nash, BB Hood, and Ryu, which that takes up another third of the deck. And then you've got your utility and your kind of human and rest of your human engine and Rescuer's Bullet, Axel, Ryu for a little bit more removal, and removal. Oh, I cannot talk. And the lady. So that's kind of the three chunks of the deck, and I really like it. So the next thing we're gonna do is talk about the kind of high skill cap part of this deck and why I think it's super fun to play, and definitely has a high skill ceiling, which I'm not sure I personally have reached. The clips in this next segment, talking about the fancy plays you could do with this deck, are brought to you by JeezRuiz. You can find him on Twitter at TTGJeezRuiz or on Twitch TV/TheThirstyGames. So we'll put those links in the description. I really appreciate him letting me use his clips, so I don't have to recreate them, if I'm being honest. But it's definitely super interesting. There's some very interesting interactions, and I would consider them ways you can outplay your opponent with this deck, and is why it's a huge reason I wanted to share it with you all. So most of these interactions involve Axel, and they're primarily useful against human mirror matches. So I would say it's a little niche, but definitely important to keep in mind. So basically what happens is when Axel copies a human and it flips, it can trigger your other human's abilities. So say you've got Axel and then you play BB Hood, then BB Hood comes into play, Axel flips, and BB Hood will get your +1/+1. Ironically, and I don't really know why, the same situation happens in reverse, where if you copy a BB Hood and then play a human, Axel will flip into a BB Hood and see the incoming human and get +1, so +1 attack. So that's pretty crazy. These examples, obviously don't show that exact interaction, but you get the idea. And then if you go crazy, as you can see the clip with Chris, so you can do both. You can do both at the same time. So you play your Chris, Axel copies their Chris, flips into Axel, activating your Chris, and then your Chris also activates the one that Axel copied, so they both get buffs. It's kind of wild. So like if you're playing against the exact same build, right, using the BB Hood example, BB Hood, Axel copies BB Hood, you play BB Hood, and then both BB Hoods would be +1 attack, so they'd both be 2/8s, which is just crazy. So Axel definitely increases the skill cap of this deck a lot, especially when you're going against humans, or you can find an extra human to come out and then maybe surprise people with some spookiness. So the more practical version of this is if your opponent has a human, you play Axel, and then you play your lady, and then Axel will flip into the human and proc the lady. So that's probably the most practical usage of that. I think Izzy has shown this one, so you should also check him out. I'll put his stuff in the description. I believe it's at Deadly Cuddles on Twitter. So yeah, those are really cool. But the coolest and the like biggest interaction that I really wanted to have in the deck, show you all, is the Ryu interaction, where when Ryu ascends, he comes in as Ryu and then flips into Devil Ryu or Demon Ryu or whatever, right? And that counts as 2 humans. So if you have BB Hood, you're getting 2 +1 attacks. So you're getting +2 attack for that. Or if you're Lady, you're proccing twice. You get 8 damage split plus the Ryu split, which is, so you get basically getting 4/4/3 damage spread across the board, and I can just blow up boards, which is just like really sick, I think. So that's kind of where if you know these kind of little interactions, you can make a lot more value and get a lot more value out of your plays and out of the deck. So that's why I think it's such a cool deck, and I'm happy to share it with you. Let's talk mulligans. What kind of hands are we looking for with this Explorer deck? Well, first things first, we want Explorers, okay? I think that one's pretty obvious. I think things change a little bit depending on matchups, but in general, you're hoping for 2 Explorers minimum, because you can usually draw into the 3rd one, and if you have 3 Explorers, you just go to town and just be happy with that. But if you have two Explorers, if you have 1 Explorer, but you've got a lot of useful cards like BB Hood, where you could apply pressure quickly, that's definitely good. If you've got only 1 Explorer, or if you get 2 Explorers and the rest are like Nash, Claire's that need Explore counts, you should probably ship that back, just because, you know, you might not hit it. But if I have 2 explorers, I'm usually keeping 3 explorers as an auto keep for me. And then there's matchup specific things. Mainly the one that comes to mind is Rakuhoha. Is you really would, ideally you would like to have Hellbat, because you get the detonation, and if you have the detonation, that is going to let you should hold it in your hand, you keep it there, and that's going to let you deal with Vs when they come on the board much easier, because you just pa. It's only got 5 health, so you should be able to kill that, assuming they don't have a negate in hand. So I think having Hellbat in hand is very important for that matchup. The rest of them, I think just getting your explorers is good, is ideal, but that's your main goal, and then you just kind of like work with it from there and kind of wiggle your way out of whatever situations come up. So I know it's not like the most big brain mulligan strategy, but your explorers are just that important, okay? And the matchup matters a little bit less than getting your explorers off, because no matter what matchup it is, if you don't get your explorers off, you lose. So yeah. Alright, let's talk about the strengths and the weaknesses of this deck. So I'd say the strengths are that it's just got some insane power plays and insane power moves. So it definitely plays like a tempo deck. You kind of keep your opponent on their toes. You get a lot of advantage. And you can kind of outvalue people with antibody activation once it comes on. And put them in really tough spots with Nashes and with BB Hoods. If they don't have a good answer, then you just kind of steamroll. You don't steamroll, but you kind of snowball that little advantage to victory. So that's how it goes. Having shield access in a red deck is pretty strong, because you can make all these kind of trades that people aren't expecting, and you can protect yourself. You know, more importantly, you can protect yourself from other decks. So let's use, for example, Rakuhoha. I mean that's kind of one that's just fresh on my mind because I recently played a match against it. If they don't have any demonic intimidations, then their best removal is typically Rakuhoha. So you can set up a shield. You can get them on a low MP if you can get the MP advantage on them, and then be like, oh well, their only real response to this is Rakuhoha. They really need to Rakuhoha here, and then you set up a shield. Then puts them in this really awkward spot where they have to get rid of the shield now, and they have to go down to more MP and then use Rakuhoha. But in that time, you get to build up MP, and then you can just slap down another threat immediately. So keeping that continuous threat going is definitely a powerhouse strength of this deck. And the weaknesses, I mean, the big weakness is you are super reliant on getting those explorers off. If you don't, it's big struggle bus time, struggle town. Yeah, it's a bad time. As well, on top of that, I think it's very difficult to deal with green decks. I struggle a lot with those because their units just get too big, and you know, you do have a lot of buffs with antibody activation. You have some removal in the form of detonation, but you really don't have that much. You're relying a lot on the board presence that you have to win you the game, and green just does board presence better. The other thing that can be tricky is, you know, black decks that have tons of removal, like Dark Destruction with like a bajillion removals, because all your stuff is pretty low cost, so they can just, there's nothing that's like hard for them to remove except for, you know, maybe an Ascended Ryu or the Fate Defying Ryu, and they just go ba ba ba, kill, and it's very hard to keep up with that, especially as a deck that's relying on board to keep the pressure, like I said. Alright, yeah, so just to wrap up my kind of thoughts on the kind of matchups, color matchups for strengths and weaknesses, I think purple and black are pretty good. You can definitely outpower them, you can outspeed them a little bit. I think green is rough, but there are some decks that you can get them before they get going. So you just have to know and really learn your matchups of like which deck you're going up against, and are you faster than it, or do you need to grind them out with your antibody activation value. So learn your matchups, very important. Alright, that is it for this Jill deck guide. I hope you all enjoyed it, found it was useful. And so I've been playing this deck for a week, so I hope I was able to impart all the necessary information for you to take it on the ladder and do well. And if I missed anything, if you think I need to add anything to these guides, let me know so I can include it in the next one. I'm hoping to go a little bit more in depth on a matchup guide. I know I kind of glossed over a little bit in this one, so I apologize for that. So that's definitely on the improvements list. Let's check it off. We'll check it off next week. And yeah, so pretty excited for that. Pretty excited to try out some more decks. And if there's any deck guides you would like to see from me, definitely let me know in the comments. So until the next time, keep on learning and having some fun with me. I'll see you in another video. Peace.